This April regular council meeting. I declare the meeting open at 6 o'clock. A couple of announcements. The digital recording of council meetings policy. I'd like to advise the meeting that everyone here at the meeting, the meeting will be digitally recorded in accordance with the council policy. Gov.017, digital recording of council meetings to record the meetings of council, to assist in the preparation of minutes and to allow live streaming of council meeting. I'd also like acknowledgement of country. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians on the land on which we meet today, the Tomagina people, and to pay our respects to those that have passed before us, their history and their culture. Thank you. Record of attendance. We have a full attendance. Nil apologies. Leave of absence previously approved. Nil. Confirmation of the minutes of our previous ordinary council meeting. I'd like a move in a seconder, please.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
That was Deputy Mayor Dunyam and seconded Councillor Bramish. Is that the way it was? Any corrections to the minutes to be identified and agreed at this point prior to taking a vote to adopt the minutes? Any corrections, councillors? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Declarations of interests. Councillors or staff, any of us have an agenda item tonight that we have an interest that they'd like to record? All clear? We'll move on to announcements by the Mayor, 4.1. No announcements really at this stage. 4.2, the Mayor's communications. That the council note the Mayor's communications, and there's a list of them since the last regular council meeting until last week when the agenda was drawn up.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Dunyam moved.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hyland seconded. Any questions in relation to that list that's before you, councillors? If not, I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Notification of council workshops. There's a recommendation there that we note the council workshops and the upcoming workshops and the councillor attendance records.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Dunyam moved.
Second.
Councillor Edwards seconded. Any discussion, any queries? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Public questions and statements. Okay, 5.1, responses to the public questions taken on notice from the previous meeting. That's all listed there as we roll through to, we don't have a motion on it, do we? No. We roll through until we get to public questions received in writing, nil. Public questions without notice, nil. Public statements received in writing, nil. And public statements without notice, nil. Petitions, deputations and presentations. As we have none to receive tonight, it will be unnecessary for me to read the preview to that. Okay. Deputations and presentations. Replacement of damaged beach access walkways, nodes 3 and 7 Irby Boulevard, item 6.1.1. We have a recommendation there that council receive and note the petition relating to the replacement of the damaged beach access nodes 3 and 7 in Irby Boulevard, Sisters Beach, and consider the petition and request for funding as part of the 21-22 deliberations budgets.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Move. Deputy Mayor Dunyam moved. That was Councillor Courtney. Any discussion, councillors? No discussion. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. We now move into the Planning Authority items at 6:05. And there's nothing to come from the planning matters, public questions or statements. We move over to 7.3, the subdivision of one lot into two and demolition of a shed located at 15 New Street, Wynyard. There's a recommendation there, councillors. That was Councillor Courtney. Councillor Hyland. Any questions, any statements, any speakers? I'll put them. Yeah, Councillor.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, it's just a couple of the representations. I think they've been very well handled. There's obviously a bit of an issue where the shed comes down on a boundary alignment, but that's been explained very clearly, and it's up to the builder or the whatever it is to deal with all that on the way through the process, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hyland. Any further speakers before I put the motion? All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. I believe that concludes our planning section at 6:07. Okay, matters raised by councillors. Councillors' questions taken on notice from the previous meeting there, 8.1.1, and they roll through to 8.3, councillors' questions without notice. We are at that stage. Do we have any councillors' questions without notice? Councillor Fairbrother.
Thanks.
Councillor Bramish.
No, you go. Just, it goes back to 8.1.4 regarding, since the agenda was printed, is there any more update from State Growth regarding the repairs to the road or?
Through Mr Mayor, no, answer is no. No further advice.
Yeah, well, yeah. I suppose the government is in caretaker mode, so there probably won't be for a while. Thank you.
Councillor Fairbrother.
Thanks, Mayor. Is this working?
Yep. Yeah.
My question is, can council write to Taswater re the condition of the hoardings, for the want of a better word? Can council write to Taswater read the hoardings in the private water supply or the public water supply in the Waratah area? Can they bring them up to a satisfactory standard for the Waratah water supply? The General Manager may have already undertaken some work in this regard to see what...
Mr GM, do you have any comment in relation to that matter?
Yeah, through Mr Mayor, we have a draft, I guess, letter to Taswater following feedback from the community conversations discussion last week in Waratah. It was my intent to just quickly work through that following the council meeting with councillors to make sure you're comfortable with the content prior to submission on Wednesday. Now that can either go as a part of an appeal process, or it could go as a separate letter to Taswater. But that point that you raised, Councillor Fairbrother, is absolutely identified and raised as part of that draft letter.
Thanks, Mr GM.
Yes, thank you. Wednesday is D-Day for the appeal for submissions, I take it? Yes.
Correct.
All right. Another question. When is the next Taswater representatives meeting?
I'll look through my calendar, Councillor Fairbrother, and see what I can find.
That's all right.
But I don't think there's one imminent.
I'll just... another question, if I might, and it may be such that we deal with it later in the meeting, have some discussion about it about the Waratah decommissioning. But my question is, can council appeal to the owners of Taswater for a stay or an injunction against the demolition of the dam at Waratah?
Mr GM, do you need to take that on notice?
Yeah, through Mr Mayor, I think I will, just to investigate that further.
Thank you. Any luck with the date?
24th of June.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further councillor questions without notice? No? We'll move on to notices of motion. 9.1. Councillor Fairbrother, do you wish to formally move that proposed motion?
9.1?
Yep.
No, I might ask a question. I have them over here. Before I do, can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Does the question put other onuses or another level of bureaucracy on the process? Just read the email sent at 5:35 from the director. I'm just wondering, in light of his response, whether the motion, if it was passed, what are the consequences of that? I guess I asked that question because I'm wondering whether if council does pass this motion, what the impact's going to be. Because I'm in two minds as to whether to move the motion or not.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think as it reads and as per the legislative research done by officers, it doesn't point to a clear head of power for council officers to enact the motion as it's proposed. I don't believe the Act gives council powers to see that through, I guess.
Thanks, Mr. Thomas.
Yep. Thank
any
you,
further,
Mayor.
Councillor Fairbrother?
No, in light of that advice, I don't wish to proceed with the motion. Thank you.
Okay. You wish to withdraw the motion?
What I need to do, yes, I do.
Okay. 9.1 is withdrawn. 10.2, local roads and community infrastructure. I missed one. 9.2. Have I really? Oh, so I have. Protection of biodiversity plant site. Proposed motion there, Councillor Fairbrother.
So moved, Mayor.
Councillor Fairbrother moved.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Councillor Brammy seconded. Do you wish to speak, Councillor Fairbrother?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, if I can. It is noted somewhere else in the agenda, maybe closed session actually, so I'll best be careful what I say. But it is opportune for council at this time to consider this motion. It has been brought to my attention that there is a small parcel of land in this location which does have some remnant vegetation which does represent the vegetation that was native to Wynyard prior to much of the development being undertaken. Wynyard Land Care, and I apologise councillors, that there is an extensive A4 list of the plant type and species that is endemic to the Wynyard area, which I provided to staff but hasn't been made available to councillors. And no joke, it's a full page or 2 pages, I think it was, from Wynyard Land Care. They have been on site and they've identified numerous species which are hard to find around Wynyard. Site for the size and the density of the vegetation, they say, "Ha, look what we got," and it's in Goldie Street, Wynyard's main street, and they say, "Oh, is there any chance for us to take some affirmative action to restore it?" What council staff is suggesting in this instance is that council advocate on behalf of the residents and try and tee up some dialogue between Wynyard Land Care and the owner. So I think that is the affirmative action which has been identified in the questions in writing, and I think it would be a good PR exercise for council to do that menial exercise. I understand that council staff have already been involved in discussions with Landcare, but I don't believe that we have as yet been in contact with the owner of the property. So it'd be good for council to endorse this. It would give some moral support to the local Landcare group that Waratah Wynyard Council is conscious about these biodiversity type issues. So I look forward to your support or debate if there is any. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fairbrother. Any further speakers? Councillor Highland.
Oh, just a question, Mr. Mayor. Obviously there needs to be something done there, but given the report, the property is it is a privately owned block and there's already been moves afoot by the group, and they're sort of looking to the council to be a facilitator. I'm just not sure whether there's too much in the motion to sort of where that puts council, whether it puts them, we're expecting if this motion gets up, we're expecting the council to take the lead role totally, and it might just sort of push the group offside. I'm just not sure how that sort of all sits. If someone like the GM might just explain that a little bit, spread it out. And
Mr. GM, have you got any anything that could enlighten Councillor Highland's feeling in that matter?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there was a letter. I thought it was included in the agenda, but I can't find it as I'm looking through there either. Councillor Fairbrother, I thought it was part of the agenda. But Wynyard Landcare have written to council in probably about a week or so ago, and requesting that council do become involved, and along similar sentiments to what Councillor Fairbrother has put forward. So they have asked for our support and asked whether or not essentially that we would help convene that meeting with the landowner.
no worries.
Yep.
Thanks, Mr. GM. Any further speakers or any questions? No further speakers? No need to reply. No one spoke against it. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye.
Before you do, can I just respond to Councillor Highland?
Okay.
It just might assist him in his deliberations. I would offer that the property has, or in the process of being transferred to a new owner. The Wynyard Landcare Group, I understand, is stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I guess council is as well. Council can't divulge who the new purchaser is, and I don't even know that the property has settled. So Wynyard Landcare can't find out yet who the new landowner is. So they haven't got anywhere to go. So they've come to council and said, "Hey, council, can you help us out here?" So I guess that's what the motion's about. And council staff have information that can assist Wynyard Landcare, and hopefully can have dialogue or point Wynyard Landcare in the right area, or perhaps get the new purchaser to get in contact with Wynyard Landcare. So we as council perhaps are pivotal in the future direction of this action. Thank you.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Motion's carried. 10.1, the draft East Wynyard Foreshore Master Plan for public consultation. A recommendation there that council approve the release of the draft East Wynyard Foreshore Master Plan for public consultation feedback be considered prior to finalising the master plan. Councillor Courtney moved.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Duniam seconded. Any speakers? Pretty straightforward, isn't it? Okay. Any discussion? I think we've workshopped everything and know where we're going. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 10.2, Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Program, Round 2. Councillor Courtney.
Yes, second, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Highland. Did you have some more to report on this, Mr. GM? No. I just thought...
No.
No, that's all right. I just had a brainwave. I just had a thought, flashback. Any speakers in regard to this program? No discussion? Councillor Highland.
We'll give it a go, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. Why not?
It's only that's another program, obviously, to assist community-led recovery after the COVID. Council's identified some much-needed projects, and we'll see how we go. But there's quite a number in there, and we may have to reassess it if we're not successful. But the priority ones. No, good program, and we've certainly got to hope that we get some support out of that.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Highland. Any further speakers? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Did I not get a mover? I had a mover and a seconder.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Jumping the
A bit-
gun, Mr.
I'm a
Mayor.
bit slow, sorry. We're moving well. I didn't know it was going so well. 10.3. So moved, Councillor Fairbrother.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Seconded. Would anyone wish to speak about this recommendation?
If Councillor Fairbrother doesn't wish to speak, I would like to address some of the issues that were raised in the PESRAC report. The inclusion of recommended local government reform in this agenda informs us of state government's plans for local government. It is important to note that not one local government representative was included in the formulation of these recommendations. That suggests a lack of respect for our status as a level of government within the Tasmanian Constitution. However, while council mergers are not a strong recommendation, it may pay to read between the lines, particularly with reference to reducing council numbers referring to local government in approvals processes. It appears that reducing council numbers has been slipped in at this point, and the report goes on to say under point 3, local government capacity and capability incentivise local government amalgamations, whatever that means. Small councils can't manage complex issues. This report also suggests increased centralisation to drive efficiencies and to share resources. Our council should pat itself on the back because of its shared resources and shared services strategies that have been in place for several years. Referring back to amalgamations, this paper states the current government's position is that any consolidation of local government sector must be done voluntarily, and that the greatest identified savings were found in voluntary amalgamation options. Where is the data to support this statement? PESRAC goes on to say, however, all studies showed that amalgamation and shared services options present significant potential to deliver benefits, and further reform will likely reduce the number of councils and number of elected members, but there is no reason for the relationship between the two to be in lockstep. A larger number of elected members per council, together with a ward system, may be a good way to ensure effective local representation in a smaller number of larger councils. I suggest that you read the proposed way forward, local government strategic reform, with emphasis on the fact that the Tasmanian Parliament would set its terms of reference, and this could be by way of specific legislation. PESRAC has established criteria and benchmarks for this process to capture a minimum strategic capacity, local representation and democratic participation, which may not be achieved if smaller councils are subsumed by larger councils. Regional equity, financial sustainability and effectiveness and efficiency of service delivery. I suggest that this is already in train with our 9 council membership of Cradle Coastal Authority. Finally, PESRAC suggests setting a time frame of about 18 months for completion. So I ask you all to hold those thoughts, and we need to watch this space.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Well put. Any further speakers? No. The light's on. Were you going to have a go, Councillor Fairbrother?
Yeah, when you give me permission, thank you.
Yeah, I asked for any further speakers.
Ah, sorry. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I say we don't hold those thoughts. I disagree with Councillor Dunyam. I don't think we should hold those thoughts. I think what we should do as a council is be proactive and advocate the PESRAC report in a positive manner. I thank the Deputy Mayor for her submission, and I thank you council staff for highlighting one of the recommendations. For me, the PESRAC report has so much more relevant to us than just one recommendation that I think we should be holding the government to account for. Some of the things, if you go to the review of the report, and there's I think about 40 recommendations, there's quite a few of them that pertain to local government, not just the one that's been highlighted. It's all placed in sections. There's an environment and sustainability one, which if you have a look through section 39, 40, 42 as well as number 1, which comes under jobs and income recommendations, and you think about the Waratah Dam, you sort of think, PESRAC, who are supposedly an independent body, they make a number of motherhood type statements that when you think about, you read them and you think about Waratah Dam, you think, Taswater's going to pull down Waratah Dam. PESRAC actually recommend that, I'll read you section 42 recommendation. It says the state government should strongly promote the idea that all Tasmanians are responsible for our environmental performance and have a part to play in achieving the strategy. So that's the strategy that we're talking about. Everyone is responsible and everyone should contribute through their actions. So I read that and thought, Waratah Dam, what are we going to do? Kill the wildlife? Yeah. Pull the dam wall down. Well, how does all of that action stack up against that sustainable development type of grandiose statement? It doesn't. And you can say the same for recommendation 39, recommendation 40 and 42. Recommendation number 2 and also number 8. Number 8 talks about regional land use strategy should be comprehensively updated. Well, surprise, surprise. I think that is number 1 on the wish list for the Cradle Coast Authority and is supported by the PESRAC independent, supposedly, group of people that have come up with this list of recommendations. But are the elected government, whoever they might be, are they going to implement these, or are they just going to selectively cherry pick the ones that they want, implement them? But I think that the recommendations need to be read in their entirety. Is that the word? Yeah. Because it's easy just to pick 1 or 2 out and say, because number 2 says state, local government and infrastructure providers need to appropriately resource assess and permitting processes to deliver timely outcomes. Assessment turnaround time should be published for major categories of approvals. I don't know whether you've seen today's front page of the paper, but it indicated there that there's a roadblock for a particular type of project down at Waratah. According to the PESRAC report, there should be timely processes in place. You can't say that the project down the west coast that the front page of the paper was talking about is a timely process. If a developer has been waiting years for a state government agencies to come back to give them the necessary approvals, you've got to ask, where are these proper processes? And you sort of think, come on. An independent body's come up with a number of recommendations. If they're going to pick one out that local councils have to amalgamate or rationalise services, what about everything else? You've got to really question, what is the value of this document? Is it just something to, when the government of the day wants to go and pluck something off it and say, we've got some justification to do this, or are they going to really take it seriously and do it properly and consistently? I'd advocate, when you go home tonight, if you've got nothing else to do, pull out the report, have a look at the recommendations and go through them one by one, not just the one that appears in our agenda, because it is worthwhile, and I say councils should hold the government to account. If the government is serious about improving Tasmania's status post-COVID, I think that they need to be working consultatively with interested stakeholders to doing better than what they currently are. And whilst I don't necessarily agree with some of the recommendations, I'm quite happy to have a conversation and proactively work with stakeholders to try and improve the lot for our ratepayers, which I think is what we're here for.
Yeah.
So support the
got-
recommendation.
Yeah. Okay. That we note the content and the recommendations. I'll put the motion.
Question.
A question, Councillor.
Yeah, just fire a question.
Yeah.
There is a mention that Cradle Coast Authority is sort of doing a bit of digging on behalf of the 9 councils, but I haven't noticed anything anywhere in relation to the local government association as a body of 29 councils. All I can read out of this is what the state government is going to do. Are they intending to do that with their expert body, and then they'll put it back and say, here, go away and work that out? Is there going to be any sort of...
I don't know,
there must be some other councils that are going to have a bit of a dig and stand up for a few issues. There's not much point in us going in on our own when we've got 28 brothers down the road. What's the situation there? Do you know anything? Or
Through Mr. Mayor, the reference to the Cradle Coast Authority was in relation to, I guess, they've requested a briefing from the government around the report and their intent, how they plan on rolling it out, points that Councillor Fairbrother has raised around accountability and so forth. They've been asked, I guess, to articulate further the local government reform section, what that means, who will be involved, how they'll consult, all of those aspects to it. So Cradle Coast thought that was a better discussion to have, I guess, at a regional level rather than a statewide level, but I suspect there will equally be, I guess, a range of forums from a legat-driven statewide basis.
but I suppose the concern is there's a timeline. They've got a timeline worked out and everything. Like, how do you start having conversations when there's a timeline and a whole raft of stuff, and we know how the system works.
The reform process talks about a time frame of 18 months, but we're yet to hear, I guess, what the detail behind that is around what stages will be involved, if any, along that way. So that's the level of detail I guess we're asking for at the moment.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. GM. Councillor Courtney.
I'll be real quick. I'm not as diplomatic as perhaps Councillor Fairbrother and Councillor Dunham. I read through it and my heckles were raised that this is amalgamation attempts by stealth, that 18 months is enough for them to get this driven through without getting necessary consultation back from councils, which they should get. I have massive concerns with the suggestion that they go to the elections and say we're not going to force amalgamations, but then they go and do a report like this on the eve of an election and say within 18 months we want this done. And this to me is amalgamation by stealth, and they're trying to justify it through these measures. I don't think it's right for this government to come back and say to local councils that they want us to meet targets and they want us to have transparency when this is one of the least transparent governments in Tasmanian history, and they cannot meet targets on health, on education, on homelessness. How dare they come to local councils and say, we want to improve the way you're doing your job? Mate, state in your own backyard. When you get that right, you can come to councils. I will not take the suggestion that we can do amalgamations by stealth through this process quietly, because the only representation communities have are their local councillors. Because when you look at the state government level, I hate to say it, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for it, but you put money in the pockets of state governments and you can get things done. If you come to your local council, you have representation, and not because you've paid for it, but because we represent our local communities. So I don't like the way that this is written, and you've said it very politely, and you've said it very politely. This is amalgamation by stealth, and I think that we need to address this as exactly what it is, and let them know that we're not going to have an 18-month turnaround for them to get this driven home because they think they're going to get back into government.
Thank you. Councillor Fairbrother, your light was on. Did you wish to speak?
Only after councillors have finished. I'm quite happy to sum up, Mr. Mayor, given that I moved the motion.
Yeah, we've had a fair bit of time on it. Could you make it brief?
Well, I was just going to highlight, thank you for the other councillors for their contribution. There is good news in this report. Item number 36, if you have a look, they are actually recommending that funding be provided to those in the community that provide leadership. and have a demonstrated involvement in their local community. So that may well be all of the local councillors. And just a quick one, number 35 does suggest that finances should be provided by community-led, place-based recovery activities for COVID. I don't know whether Tulip Festival qualifies for that, but if I had anything to do with it, I'd say that it would. Anyway, put the motion to support the recommendation.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. 10.4, Community Health and Wellbeing Plan, the Age Friendly Communities Plan and the Youth Plan, YPAN, 2019-2024. There's a recommendation there. Would someone like to move on that, please?
So move, Mr Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Duniam. Councillor Edwards. Any speakers? Deputy Mayor Duniam, do you wish to speak?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay. Anyone else? I'll put the motion and thank you. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 10.5, the Quarterly Statistics Report to the 31st of March 2021.
So move, Mr Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Duniam. Councillor Hyland, seconded. Any questions, any speakers?
Could I speak very briefly, please, Mr Mayor?
You'll go.
I note that Animal Control on page 70 does provide some statistical data and refers to infringement notices, but does not identify in what areas of animal control these infringements took place. While I asked a question around dog control statistics at the March meeting and a response was provided earlier, it is still of concern because it is evident that no actual breaches have been recorded, only that when dog owners are asked to, they put their dogs on leads. Unfortunately, there are a growing number of anecdotal stories shared on social media about uncontrolled dogs in Guttridge Gardens and on local beaches, which do indicate that while these clear and excellent signs have been installed, there remains a situation of many dog owners simply ignoring their directives.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further speakers? No? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 10.6, the Annual Plan Progress Report as at the 31st of March 2021. The Annual Plan Progress Report. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Hyland.
I'll second that, Mr Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Duniam. Anything you wish to query, speak about or make a statement? No? Annual Plan and Progress at the 31st. No questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. $10.7. Revised Related Party Transactions Policy.
I'll
Moved.
second that, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Hyland moved and Deputy Mayor Duniam second. Any speakers? That Council adopt the revised Related Party Transaction Policy as presented. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 10.8, the Waratah Dam decommissioning. That the Council note correspondence received from the Department of Primary Industry, Parks, Water and Environment regarding the decommissioning of the Waratah Dam.
So move, Mr Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Duniam moved. Seconded Councillor Hyland. Will anyone wish to speak?
Just briefly, please, Mr Mayor.
Yes. Deputy Mayor Duniam.
It is clear that Taswater is intent on decommissioning the Waratah Dam despite ongoing discussions with another interested party. Waratah Wynyard Council has expressed its concern to Taswater and DPIPWE and have maintained a role of advocacy and facilitation in this matter, and it must be emphasised that Waratah Wynyard Council has no desire or strategic benefit from having any form of dam ownership. Council is seeking further assurances from Taswater regarding Council's stormwater infrastructure and future maintenance implications, particularly in the event of potential future flooding in Waratah.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Duniam. Any further speakers? Councillor Fairbrother, you wish to speak?
Mayor, in the questions without notice section, I did ask the question whether Council could make representation to Taswater owners in respect to the Waratah Dam.
That's right.
I'm just wondering, could that be a subsequent motion, or would I be best to move an amendment to the existing motion?
I think you've got a question there will be answered, and we'll go from there, Councillor Fairbrother. And what we've done here, we're noting the correspondence received from them, and I mean, an amendment to that is up to you, I guess. But I think the course that you're taking will get your answer, and we'll see where we can go from there.
Thanks, Mayor. I guess my interest is in the timeliness of our next move, given that the item is on the agenda and we have the information before us. To me, Mayor, and I'd take advice from the General Manager, is it appropriate, is my thinking, for me to raise a subsequent motion once this motion's considered?
Mr. GM. Can you help us?
It is, through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess it is our intent already to, I guess, write to Taswater in relation to this particular matter with a series of questions. If the desire is to have anything beyond writing to Taswater, then an amendment or a subsequent motion would be an appropriate way to go, and either would be fine. So we can change the motion that Council 1 note the correspondence received, etc., and then add a secondary point to that, or you can raise a subsequent motion on the same matter, but either would be acceptable if it's anything further than what council officers are already intending to do.
Thanks, Mr. GM. Councillor Fairbrother, which course of address do you want us to take?
Mayor, I would like to foreshadow that after this motion I will move a subsequent motion for councillors' consideration.
Okay, we'll continue with the 10.8 at this stage. Any further speakers? Well, Councillor Deputy Mayor Daniel, you moved the motion. Do you wish to, anything further you wish to say? No need to close the debate, Lorik. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Your subsequent motion, Councillor Fairbrother, would go somehow like what?
That Waratah Wynyard Council make representation to the owners of Taswater in relation to the decommissioning of the Waratah Dam. And I don't know, Mayor, whether I need to put something along the lines of requesting them for a stay of execution on the Waratah Dam decommissioning, or the demolition of the Waratah Dam.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Did you handle that, Sally? You got that? It's all good. Yeah, I'm not too good looking at it. It's all good. All good. Okay, we understand the reasons. Any further discussion?
Well, speaking to the motion, if I might, Mayor, I guess as council we need to leave no stone unturned in trying to get a good outcome for the Waratah community. As councillors, I believe that we are entrusted to do the best that we can for our community. And I guess that's what this motion is about, is leaving no stone unturned to try and get a good outcome for them. I recognise that we're only one of 2029. However, we represent the Waratah community. They look to us for a voice in the wider world. They themselves have perhaps left no stone unturned. Perhaps they, the Waratah community, have perhaps worn out their welcome in some circles. for me, I'm not sure of the success of the motion if we are to entertain or get an audience with the owners of Taswater. However, I guess for me, it's a bridge that I am prepared to cross to ensure that we can do the best job that we can for the people of Waratah. And I think that we, as a council, it's one of the things that we, I think, need to do for them. So look forward to your support or your consideration. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Fairbrother. Any further speakers to the motion that's on the screen? Oh, Councillor Hyland.
Yeah, look, I think it's not really well thought out when that we've already given the staff a job to do in relation to our the response we got back from the hearing. Now we understand that's been done, but as a council we haven't assessed that, had a look through it and see whether we approve of that. And just with that motion, there's not actually much meat on the bone, really. It's just give us a requesting for a stay of execution under for what reason. And yeah, I'm at this stage I'm not going to support the motion.
Any further speakers?
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Can I ask that to put more meat on the bone, can someone perhaps move an amendment to perhaps put a rider on there to at least indicate until negotiations with the potential proponent that was identified on the Advocate newspaper today, there is a proponent, I believe, in the wings that would utilise it. I'm just thinking to put more meat on the bone, and yes, I apologise for making it up as I go along.
Would everyone be comfortable with what Councillor Fairbrother suggested to be added to that on the screen?
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask a question, please? The wording, the council make representation to Taswater. Councillor Fairbrother, did you say the members of the owner representatives of Taswater?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, I did. Good pick up from you. Thank you.
Okay. We're right there with that, folks. Mr. GM, do you have anything you wish to say in relation to that? No? Okay. Any further speakers in relation to what's on the screen? Councillor Bramish.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I can totally understand where Councillor Fairbrother's coming from. As council representatives, we should not leave any stone unturned. And look, he's thinking of these things on the spur of the moment, and good luck to him for doing that. So I would support this motion hands down. Anything we can do.
Okay. I guess we've all had enough to say, or do you wish to close the debate, Councillor Fairbrother? Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 10.9, the financial report for the period ended the 31st of March 2021. That the council note the financial reports for the period.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Duniam moved. Councillor Edwards. Oh, we're not sure, but it had to be one, didn't it? Yeah, sorry, next time. Any questions in relation to this financial report?
I have no questions, Mr. Mayor, but if I could make a very brief statement. On page 109, sporting facilities, I note that the status of establishment of Freedom Camping Site is only 2.5% completed. I really do think that we need to have more discussion about this, more information about the status of it, and more discussion sometime fairly soon in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Any further questions or speakers? Councillor Hyland, your light was on. Did you wish to speak? That's all right. Councillor Fairbrother?
Just page 109, demolition of Grandstand at the Wynyard Showgrounds. Just clarification, did we put it to them, as in the showground people? Do you want to buy it off us for $1 or an amount?
Through Mr. Mayor, yes, we have put an offer to the Show Society, and we received a reply on Friday to that particular letter, stating that they do not wish to have ownership of the grandstand. So now I guess we'll begin to plan the demolition or the next steps.
Thanks, Mr. GM. No further questions, no further speakers. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 10.10, Senior Management Report with Council note. The Cam River Bridge and all those things recommended there. Deputy Mayor Dunyam. I thought you moved it. Who did move it? Oh, Councillor Courtney. Moved and Deputy Mayor Dunyam seconded. Any discussion? Any speakers?
Question for me, Mayor.
Question,
Is there
Councillor Brown.
an update on the loading facilities, the loading at Woolworths, whether that's been tidied up yet or in the chemist shop?
Through Mr. Mayor, one of the national managers of Woolworths paid us a visit probably 3 weeks ago, perhaps, to which we had an on-site meeting with him and several representatives from Woolworths. They intend on putting a proposal to us as to how they will resolve the matter longer term, which I guess involves some modifications to the. We're still working on that. I haven't seen that proposal come through, but it should be imminent.
Thanks, Mr. GM. Did you wish to say any further, Councillor Brown?
Yeah, the modifications you talk about, that'll be at their expense?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hyland, you was... Okay. Any further questions, councillors? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. That was 10. 10.11.2. Western Emergency Management Committee. These are the minutes of other bodies and committees. I missed one. Have I? How did I do that? I found it though. 10.111. Minutes of Audit Panel Committee, 23rd of March. Sorry about that.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor Dunyam, move. Seconded Councillor Hyland. Yeah, the Audit Panel Committee. Any questions? Any speakers? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. 10.11.2, Western Emergency Management Committee held on the 18th of February.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Councillor Bramish. Any speakers? Any questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. 10.11.3, minutes of other bodies. The Waratah Community Board.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Councillor Hyland. Any questions? Any speakers? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Okay, matters proposed for consideration in the closed meeting. There's a recommendation that the council resolves by an absolute majority that the matters listed below be considered in the closed meeting. That was Councillor Courtney and seconded Councillor Bramish. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Closure of the meeting to the public. It is about 6:55. But the council resolves by an absolute majority that the matters listed below be considered in the closed meeting.
So move, Mr. Mayor.